fifth grade. Today's math lesson is lesson 2.4, and it is over adding and subtracting decimals. So today we are only worried about adding and subtracting, which you have been doing for a long time. You are just going to do it with decimals today. However, it doesn't change a lot. So you are going to use those addition and subtraction skills that you have used forever. Since you were in first grade, you learned how to add and subtract. We will just add that decimal point in there where it needs to be. So you will see as we go through, this is fairly simple. Let's do some practice problems together so that you can get the hang of it. Number one, I have 2.19 plus 0.6. I know that I'm adding, so first I want to stack these numbers up. So I'm going to take my first number and copy it down. Plus, now I have to be careful. When I write down my second number, I need to make sure that it is lined up with my decimal points. So those decimal points have to be right underneath each other. When I get them right underneath each other like that, I see a blank space right here. And I don't like blank spaces because it makes it look a little bit weird. So what can I fill in my blank space with? A 0. Then it is ready to go and I can add those numbers up. So 9 plus 0 is 9. 1 plus 6 is 7. Now I'm at my decimal point. When I see that I'm at my decimal point, I just copy it down into my answer down here. So copy the decimal point down and keep going. 2 plus 0 is 2. So my answer would be 2.79. Just like regular addition, it's just when I get to that decimal point, I really want to pause and copy it down for my answer. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see. That's a better. Let's try number 2. It says 14 plus 0.37. So again, I notice that I'm adding. Let me copy this down. Copying down my first number, which is 14. I notice that has no decimal, and we're working on adding decimals. If a number does not have a decimal, that's the whole number. So to make it a decimal, I just add a decimal point and a 0 right behind it. Now it has a decimal just like everything else. So that was like dollars, and I'm adding the cents on behind it. Plus, and I'm going to stack up very carefully, making sure my decimals are underneath each other, 0.37. When I do that, I notice there's another blank space right there. What can I fill in my blank space with? A 0. And now I'm ready to add. So 0 plus 7, this is just like normal. 0 plus 3. Now I'm at my decimal point. What do I do when I get to my decimal point? Copy it down. And then keep adding. 4 plus 0 is 4. 1 plus nothing is 1. So 14.37 would be my answer. So same as normal addition, we just have to add those decimal points whenever we reach them in the problem. Now let's try some subtraction ones. Same process. First I want to stack it up. 10.07 minus, being very careful to line up my decimal points here, 1.8, making sure they're right underneath each other. And I see a blank spot there. What can I fill in my blank spot with? A 0. Now I'm ready to subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7. 0 minus 8. I cannot do 0 minus 8. We have to be careful on our subtraction. So I'm going to do take one, give one. Take one from the next spot. Give it where I need it. 10 minus 8 is 2. I'm at my decimal point. What do I do when I get to my decimal point? Copy it down. 0 minus 2, I cannot do that. So take one, give one. 10 minus 2 is 8. And 1 minus that 1 would be a 0. Even if you do not do take one, give one, if you are borrowing and subtracting that way, you should get the exact same answer. So either way, you should get 8.27. Let's try another subtraction one here. 3. I notice again that does not have a decimal. When it does not have a decimal, remember I just put a decimal behind the big number and add a 0 back there. Minus, lining up my place values very nicely so that my decimal points are right on top of each other. There we go. Oh, there's a blank spot there. What do I put in a blank spot? A 0. Alrighty, now we're ready to go. 0 minus 8. I cannot do that, so I'm going to take 1, give 1, or you can borrow either way, but you should get the same answer as me. 10 minus 8 is 2. Go over here, 0 minus 6. I cannot do that either, so take another one from over here, give 1 here. 10 minus 6 is 4. I'm to my decimal, so I'm copying it down. And then 3 minus 1 is 2. If you borrowed, you still should get 2.42 as your answer. Alrighty, number 5 and 6 are some word problems. We have to decide, should we add or subtract to get the answer to these? Number 5, Tori had fabric that was 6.2 meters long. She used some and now has 1.45 meters. How much did she use? What would I do with those to see how much she used? Tori had fabric that was 6.2 meters long. She used some and now has 1.45 meters. How much did she use? Well, to do that, I'm going to subtract. So putting my big number on top, 6.2 minus, being careful to line up my place values very nicely so my decimals are lined up. I have a blank spot, so I'm going to fill that in with a 0. And now I'm ready to go. 0 minus 5, I cannot do that, so take 1, give 1. 10 minus 5 is 5. 2 minus 5, excuse me. 2 minus 5, I cannot do that either, so take 1, give 1. 12 minus 5 is 7. I'm to my decimal. What do I do when I get to my decimal? Copy it down. 6 minus 2 is 4. So 4.75. If you are not doing take 1, give 1, and you are borrowing, you should still get 4.75. Either method will work out fine. I am missing a label though. This is a word problem. Think, what would my label be? 4.75 meters. Notice up here in my problem, behind each one of my decimal numbers, it said the word meters. That is probably my label if that happens. So 4.75 meters. All right, last one together, number 6. Sarita has some ribbon. After she used 23.8 centimeters of it, she had 50 centimeters left. How much ribbon did Sarita start with? How would I figure out how much ribbon she started with? Sarita has some ribbon. After she used 23.8 centimeters of it, she had 50 centimeters left. How much ribbon did Sarita start with? To figure that out, I need to add those two amounts. And I like to put my big amount on top. So 50, 50 is not a decimal. How do I make it a decimal? Add a decimal point behind it with a 0. Plus 23.8. Oh, and look, I don't even have any blank spaces this time. I'm just ready to add. 0 plus 8 is 8. I'm at my decimal. What do I do when I see my decimal? Copy it down. 0 plus 3 is 3. 5 plus 2 is 7. So 73.8. I am missing a label. What should my label be for this problem? 73.8 centimeters. Notice behind both of my decimal numbers up here again, it had centimeters, so that is probably going to be my label. So 73.8 centimeters. Perfect. Make sure you are being careful on your assignment to add and subtract slowly so that we do not make silly mistakes, and really pay attention to those signs. Sometimes we're adding, sometimes we're subtracting. Do your best.